Jak and Daxter was another beloved childhood favorite of mine. The evolution going from Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy, to Jak 3 was a fun evolution to be a part of. We went from simple platforming and basic combat to shooting shit up and causing chaos in a fun sci-fi open world. As much as I loved the first game, I have more fond memories of Jak 2 and 3. Whether it be the platforming, combat, or level design, something just stuck with me that I still remember a lot of to this day. Since the last release of a Jak and Daxter game, which was back in 2009, not much has been done with the franchise. In the 14 years since its last game, all we got was a port of the first 3 games and the spin-off racing game known as Jak X. Not much has been said about its potential release, but I want to take a deep dive on why I love these games, why we haven't seen a new release, and what I want to see from a potentially brand new Jak and Daxter game. For those of you who need a quick refresher of the franchise, Jak and Daxter is another classic PS2 3D platformer franchise looking to cement its name as one of the all-time greatest platformers of its era, going up against the likes of Ratchet & Clank and Sly Cooper, which I made a video on, so check that out when you're done with this one. The creators behind this franchise have earned a stellar reputation in the gaming world, and those creators are none other than Naughty Dog, the soon-to-be creators of hit franchises like Uncharted and The Last of Us. Riding on the overall success of the Jak and Daxter franchise, Naughty Dog moved on to bigger and better things, leaving our beloved pointy-eared friend and our pet Odsel in the dust.
No one will ever know we were here.
So what makes the Jak games so special? While the story is interesting, there were other aspects of this game that cemented it as a classic for me. Mainly our boy Daxter doing all the carrying in the first game of the franchise, as our main protagonist Jak was our run-of-the-mill silent anime protagonist. A quick glance at the story follows of course Jak and Daxter, who end up on an island known as the Forbidden Misty Island. They soon end up getting into some trouble as they stumble upon enemies known as lurkers, gathering dark eco and precursor artifacts. The enemies spot the duo, and after duking it out, Daxter falls into a pool of dark eco, turning him into this.
Man, that stung! I told you we shouldn't have come here, and you listened! What?
The duo then returns home and now will begin their journey to discover the likes of Dark Eco and the precursor artifacts. The entire series revolves around Eco and Dark Eco, and the stories of each game rely heavily on this one resource. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of why I love these games so much. The characters, the world, the dialogue always had me coming back to this game as a kid. I have fond memories just laughing at Daxter's slapstick comedy and Jak making witty remarks alongside him. It created this beautiful bond and chemistry, and I would say I enjoyed these guys' chemistry more than the Ratchet and Clank partnership. Anytime they came across new situations and new people, the writing was just of the highest quality, and it makes sense why Naughty Dog has such a magnificent reputation when it comes to their writing department. They are clearly showcased in their future titles, and it's ever so present when looking back on this classic. Giving Jak a voice in Jak 2 was probably the best decision they've ever made because it created iconic moments like this.
After him, Jak!
You're willing to go down there? Without a fuss this time.
Yeah, well, don't get used to it. It's just that nobody hurts my best friend and lives to brag about it. Let's get him!
Making Jak silent in the first game was definitely experimental, but after the great reception they received for it, I'm sure Naughty Dog just had to go for it, and it paid off.
Are you torn?
Maybe this guy's a mute, like you used to be.
Speaking of Jak 2, this game revolutionized the franchise. Naughty Dog took all the ideas and elements from the first game and put it on a shit ton of steroids. The first game was your basic platformer, but in only 2 years of development, Naughty Dog added gunplay, driving flying cars, a new open world, new gadgets, more new and improved levels, and emo Jak to top it all off.
You can do it.
This game blew me away, and it still remains the best game on PS2 consoles. It really felt like they made their own version of GTA. This is not an exaggeration. You were flying around in your car, blowing people's cars up, running people over in this dystopian city. Exploring the city and seeing citizens walking, driving around was a surreal experience at the time and made my imagination run wild. But of course, with major change came major complaints. The main complaint was that the game was too hard, and to that I say get good. The game game had moments when it was definitely giving me a run for my money. That's what made the game so fucking memorable. It was hard, but it was fair. While yes, the game didn't age well in certain aspects, which games have from this era to be honest. Although another complaint was a lack of checkpoints, and there were moments where you had to start from absurd spots after dying. Regardless of the major changes, I could not put this game down, even today when I replay it. There is a certain element of charm that makes me come back to it. Naughty Dog then took all of the elements of Jak 2 and perfected it in Jak 3. New settings made the story constantly engaging. New vehicles in the new world made for a nice change of pace, and overall everything was refined beautifully. They even took the driving elements from Jak 3 and incorporated it in a spin-off racing game called Jak X, and if you like racing games, it's a decent racing game to try out. Even replaying these games as an adult, I can't help but smile playing them just from the amount of charm and soul that is displayed, and the overall atmosphere tied the knot perfectly. Now let me stop drooling all over this game and ask one question. Why the hell isn't Naughty Dog making another one? Now I know Naughty Dog let the franchise die by releasing the worst game out of all of them, known as Jak: The Lost Frontier, which I am not talking about. My hunch is telling me when the first Uncharted was a raging success, you passed development to a studio known as High Impact Games. Then the game went down the toilet and you neglected it ever since to go on to make your cinematic movie-like video games. In hindsight, yes, this was probably a great decision considering how successful The Last of Us itself is. I mean, for crying out loud, it has its own TV show. But you didn't have to neglect our favorite video game duo. Listen, I like The Last of Us. I didn't love it. Yeah, throw your tomatoes all you want. I am tired of Oscar bait games, and I think Naughty Dog are more than capable of creating a world for Jak like they did with Jak 2. And with the resources they have now, I can't even begin to think what they would be like. Actually, we can, because news broke out a while ago that they were attempting to make a realistic version of Jak and Daxter, and now we have these cursed images to look back on. Thankfully, this idea was shelved, but stick to the source material next time. I just want a similar art style that is enhanced as much as possible. Even just enhancing and tweaking the older games is something I would want, as it would give us an idea of what's to come. I think this will allow newer and older fans of the franchise to experience the games under a different set of lenses. Now, there are news articles stating that there will potentially be a movie for the iconic duo, but I am skeptical about this. We saw the Ratchet and Clank movie and it did not receive the best reviews. Good news though, we got a brand new game out of it. The bad news, they rebooted our beloved Lombax, but they ripped out everything that made the original so great. It was literally a like-for-like version of the movie. The story for the rebooted version of Ratchet and Clank sucked. As much as I loved the gameplay, the story felt soulless, but that's a video for another day. This is what I'm afraid will happen to Jak and Daxter if they decide to reboot it. It is a case of being careful what you wish for, because you will be severely disappointed in the result. While I do want them to reboot or remake these games, I just hope they don't rip apart everything that made the original so great.
Oh, Daxter, you're amazing.
Yeah, I know. Scratch me there.
Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, if you're seeing this, please bring these goofballs back. I'll forgive you for The Last of Us Part 2. Anyway, jokes aside, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.